Most of the Negro community knew of the legend. All avoided the swamps. To young Perkins' knowledge, Old Man Grimes had been the first to actually come anywhere near the Swamp of the Dead, the haunted swamp. The legend goes like this. It is told in the form of a rhyme. Beware the swamp. Near Musky Town, the bubbling pits will drag you down. Within each pit, a soul awaits to pull you in, to take their place. Within the mist are sightless eyes. Avoid their touch, heed not their cries. If you should wish to save your soul, look for the stone where waters flow. Young Perkins didn't wish to lose Mr. Pickman. The figure had now been obscured by the heavy foliage. Not wishing to follow directly, they instead had followed a narrow path just a few yards off the trail, thus becoming lost. There was no need for either the young man to speak, to utter a word. They instantly knew that their lives were in peril. Their very souls were in danger of becoming one of the blind dead. Why they were blind was never told. Perhaps it was the thickness of the mist. For now, the mist began to rise, slowly billowing up, eerily turning into a heavy fog. The ghostly images slowly rising from the sofa, a phosphorus glow emanating from each mournful spirit. Kevin's grip tightened on young Perkins' shoulder, turning him aside until he faced in the direction in which Kevin stared. With arms stretched out like a sleepwalker, a ghostly denizen of the haunted swamp aimlessly wandered nearby. Its ethereal glow caused the youths to gaze in horror and fascination. "Let's run for it," Kevin commands in a low whisper, his nerve becoming unraveled. "Not yet," replies young Perkins. But every moment that the young men hid costs them time, precious time. Time that they could not afford to waste. For what was once one or two spirits were now numbering in the dozens. Dear God, if mind could but dismiss the unimaginable, if one could but block one's ears and unhear the ghostly groans, the mournful wails, the chilling shrieks, the bitter weeping, the burping, the bubbling, the belching, the billowy pits of steaming bile. However did Kevin keep from going mad as the two young men gazed at the unearthly wanderers? A deadly viper came out from under cover and slowly slithered between the two young men's legs. Through the gloom of the night and the building fog, it was clear that the viper that had joined them was nothing less than a deadly copperhead. Instinctively, the young men kept their calm. They remained still, deathly still. Although they were motionless, their hearts racing, pounding blood surging, Kevin began to tremble ever so slightly. The deadly copperhead slowly and methodically began making its way up Kevin's trembling legs. Kevin's eyes clenched tightly as he began mumbling the Lord's Prayer. The deadly copperhead moved attentively, furtively, haltingly, slowly inching its way up to his knees, then coiling itself around his waist, slowly sliding up his torso until it wound itself around Kevin's trembling, sweat-soaked neck. Dear God, was there ever more a deadlier noose than that of the slime-covered, hissing asp that had now begun to stifle Kevin's breath, all the while seeking to deliver its venomous kiss, the kiss of death. An occasional wanderer would come dangerously near. The ungodly things seemed to search, their arms stretched forth as if seeking to grip the living, to drag them down, to take their place deep within the boiling morass. Legend has it that if they could grab a living soul, that individual would be dragged down into the pit. Oh, the horror! There, the living soul with its last dying breath would release the soul from the curse. No longer would it wander in blindness. No longer would its anguished cries echo in the night to reverberate amid the hideous, twisted, moss-covered trees. No longer doomed, damned, condemned to haunt the mist, to go about aimlessly groping in the dark. It would be free, at peace. Unable to bear the nerve-wracking tension, Kevin's mouth opens wide to a silent scream. This only presented an opening for the viper to explore. With its conical-shaped head, the death-wielding asp inches its way around Kevin's cheek, entering into his open mouth. With every inch, the copperhead slides deeper into Kevin's throat, gagging him. Kevin's choking reflexes cause him to begin vomiting, whether through fear or whether through nausea. Either way, the result was the same. The sudden rush of half-digested kidney beans both freed him from his supper and from his precarious predicament. His sudden regurgitation acted to spew forth the slithering death. Thus liberated, Kevin broke and ran. Young Perkins reached for Kevin to halt his flight, all to no avail. Kevin was bounding, leaping over the boiling pits, zigzagging, running in serpentine. His only thought was evasion. He ran like a runaway slave, gazelle, and antelope. As with all black men, he, as swift as lightning, continued to dodge the great death. The death that was now blindly hunting him. His actions gave young Perkins an instant respite, but just briefly. As for the spirits of the blind dead, followed the sound of leaves crunching and the splashing of mud acted to lure the blind dead away. They now had a living victim, or at least that's what young Perkins perceived, but not Kevin. Kevin's sole plan was, if he was going to be dragged down into the pit, if it were his fate to die, to drown, to become one of the blind dead, he wasn't gonna go out without a fight, and especially not without a chase. If Kevin was going to die, he was determined to die game. Young Perkins would have joined his young companion in flight, save for the fact that the slime-basted serpent had been vomited forth, had become excited, wriggling, twisting, writhing in the sickening pool of steaming bile. Before young Perkins could move, the cold-blooded nightmare quickly slithered up his bended knee. Young Perkins mimicked his friend. With eyes tightly closed, he too began reciting the Lord's Prayer. He had prayed many times, offering up feeble mumblings of obedience, but this time he silently offered a genuine plea. Young Perkins prayed in dead earnest. The young man's prayers were, for the moment, ineffective, for the scaly copperhead continued seeking the warmth of human flesh. One wrong move, the slightest gesture, may very well prove fatal. The snake would present young Perkins with a kiss. The kiss of sleep. Eternal sleep. Never more to wake. Noticing that most, if not all, the lurking dead had followed in the direction of Kevin's flight, young Perkins could but wait the endless moments, whereupon finally, at last, the coiling death sought new ground in which to hunt. Slowly inching its way down young Perkins' body, down his torso, down until he reached his ankle, but not yet detaching itself. Its body was yet tethered to young Perkins' ankle. The tension was too much. Young Perkins found himself nauseous, lightheaded, fighting to keep conscious. He knew very well that his panting or swooning would absolutely be fatal. His bladder filled with fear, his heart empty of courage. Young Perkins relieved his bladder from its fear-built contents. A warm stream of steaming urine began moistening his overalls, traveling down the legs of his pants. The bitter urine coming in contact with the deadly viper gave it incentive to extricate itself from the young man's ankle. Thus, unencumbered, numb with fear and trembling, the badly shaken youth sought the only point of refuge, the stone where waters flow. The rending shrieks were now afar off, as Kevin's footsteps continued in the distance. He could tell by the rhythmic splashing the direction and speed in which Kevin fled while being hunted by the blind dead, the evil dead. Whether or not Kevin would be successful in evading the dead, young Perkins could not quite know. But for now, self-preservation being the first law of nature, his only thought, his only hope, his only chance of survival was the stone where waters flow. The legend had it that the stone was located in the middle of the swamp. Dead center, its heart, its very soul. It is said that if one could reach the stone, its flowing spring waters would act as a protective barrier, a moist shield, so to speak. It is said, if one would soak himself in the water, that individual would be protected from the blind wanderers. Unconcerned with his urine-soaked pants legs, young Perkins carefully, steadily made his way deeper into the heart of the haunted swamp, narrowly avoiding the strike of a water moccasin. Young Perkins traveled carefully, fearfully, proceeding, dreading the approach of the blind dead. Once taking a misstep, he sank down, nearly disappearing into the boggy mire, his life being spared by a nearby hanging vine. Still, he continued. After traveling a length of time, young Perkins suddenly noticed that the chilling shrieks and cries of anguish had begun to build. They were coming his way. Kevin was rapidly approaching. It was quite evident that Kevin was in full flight. All the while, the figures of the glowing dead desperately pursuing, their skeletal figure ominously illuminating the misty gloom. The fog, growing even thicker, greatly hindering. The young man found his arms stretched forth like that of the blind dead. He was groping in the impenetrable thickness of the fog, making him almost blind. It was nearly impossible to discern distance. The young man was unable to see farther than perhaps 3 yards ahead. Still, Kevin's footsteps grew more distinct. From the sound, he was perhaps 20 yards and closing, the unearthly cries of the doomed echoing close behind. As the sound of Kevin's splashing came within hailing distance, young Perkins calls out, "Hey, Kevin, over here!" All to no avail. Kevin ran in blind fright. Young Perkins was forced to strike out in a course of interception. Running pell-mell, young Perkins sought to halt Kevin in his flight. Together, they would not only avoid the grip of the soulless dead, they would seek the safety of the stone and its waters. It was hard for young Perkins to reach his fleeing friend, for no sooner than the young man came within proximity, Kevin would suddenly serpentine and double back. This act caused some of the pursuers to wander off, which made it more dangerous. For now, the blind dead no longer traveled in a bunch. Every time Kevin doubled back, every time he cut left or right, more and more of the hunting specters would branch off in confusion, there to wander, their tormented cries. Horrible, horrible to hear. Again and again, young Perkins' attempts to reach his companion were hindered, halted, derailed, all the while Kevin's breathless panting made manifest the fact that he was tiring, growing weaker. Again, young Perkins prayed, not for himself, but for the safety of his young companion. The heavens, being merciful, turned Kevin in his desperate bid for life. The sounds of Kevin's rapidly moving footsteps indicated that he was heading directly for young Perkins. In a moment, they would both make contact. But what of the evil dead? Would they overtake Kevin? Would they both be caught, dragged, screaming, down into the boiling pits? Would they be condemned to join the ranks of the wandering dead? Breathless panting, merged with the sound of mud-soaked feet, announced Kevin's arrival. Nerve-wracking screams were heard following close behind. Closer and closer, the footsteps approached. Louder and louder, the sound of splashing feet. Now, young Perkins thought to himself, now. As Kevin passed within grasp of young Perkins, he found it necessary to tackle his fleeing companion. A short tussle ensued until Kevin came to realize that the hands that gripped him were, in fact, mortal. There was no time to spare, for the blind dead made swiping motions with their hands coming nearer to grip them. The two quickly rose and continued their flight, anxiously searching the sanctuary of the stone. "Man, I thought you was dead for show," voices Kevin through panting breaths. "You think I didn't?" replies young Perkins with a half-laugh. On and on the demonic dead continued stalking, their glowing necrotic hands swiping the air. I don't think I can make it." Kevin's gasping breath becomes more pronounced. "Come on, man. Don't give up now." Young Perkins attempts to encourage his friend, who now shows definite signs of weakening. Young Perkins finds it necessary to grasp Kevin by the waist with one hand, while holding his arm over the shoulder with the other, half dragging him. "Let me go. Save yourself." Kevin's breathless utterings causes young Perkins to increase his pace. "Fool, I ain't letting you go," says young Perkins in between breaths. You the only friend. You're the only friend I got. The weight of Kevin's rapidly tiring frame causes Perkins to grow weary, his heart growing weak, his legs buckle with every rapid step. He, too, wishes to unburden himself. Time seems to slow as young Perkins deliberates on whether or not to release Kevin, to leave his companion to his fate. I'm sorry. Young Perkins carefully expresses his sorrow. I'm sorry, Kevin. With those words, young Perkins releases his doomed companion.
Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging headfirst into a really chilling narrative excerpt. It's titled Swamp of the Dead, A Perilous Escape.
Yeah, and it's not just, a spooky story. It's fascinating. It looks at local folklore, the sheer terror of, nature itself, and these awful choices people face when survival's on the line.
Absolutely. So our mission today is basically to pull out the most potent bits of fear, wonder, and that profound human struggle from this source material. Really intense stuff.
Giving you a shortcut, sort of, to understanding what extreme survival feels like.
Exactly. So we meet these two young men, Perkins and Kevin. They've stumbled into a place where, legends are real. The setting is the Swamp of the Dead. It's infamous, known by the entire Negro community. The text says, near a place called Muskie Town.
And apparently only one person, Old Man Grimes, ever even got close to it before.
Right. And from the get-go, it's crystal clear they are in deep trouble. Their very souls, it says, are in danger of becoming one of the blind dead.
What's really striking, I think, right from the start, is how the legend isn't just like background flavor. It's woven right into the story. It's a warning, sure, but it's also kind of a guide.
A guide? How so?
Well, there's that rhyming prophecy, right? Beware the swamp near Muskie Town. The bubbling pits will drag you down. And it goes on.
Oh, yeah. Within each pit, a soul awaits to pull you in, to take their place. Within the mist are sightless eyes.
Exactly. Avoid their touch, heed not their cries. It basically sets up the rules of this horrible place. It outlines the danger, definitely, but it also gives this tiny, tiny glimmer of hope for escape with that last line. Look for the stone where waters flow.
A blueprint for fear and hope, like you said. Okay, so what kind of peril are we talking about initially? Perkins and Kevin, they're lost. They followed this narrow path off the main trail, trying to catch up to a Mr. Pickman.
Right, and then, bam, the mist. It starts slowly billowing up, eerily turning into a heavy fog.
And then things get really bad. Ghostly images began rising from the sulfur, each a mournful spirit with a phosphorus glow.
Ugh, just that image. Glowing spirits from the sulfur.
Overwhelming, right.
Totally. And that immediate dive into the supernatural, narratively speaking, it just ramps up the helplessness, doesn't it? These things called ghostly denizens in the text, chilling word, right? With sightless eyes. They're not just a physical threat.
No, it's more psychological.
Definitely. It's like an assault on the senses. The mist, the subtle appearance, it shatters any sense of safety. It's this cognitive overload, almost paralyzing.
And that overload gets worse fast. Kevin sees one. His first instinct is, let's run for it. Makes sense.
Totally. Pure flight response.
But Perkins, he says, not yet.
Yeah.
Just like that, calmly, which somehow makes it even more terrifying.
Oh, yeah, that pause, that calculation.
And it costs them big time.
Yeah.
What was once one or two spirits were now numbering in the dozens. That hesitation.
Wow. It's a gut punch, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the author really leans into the sensory details here. You get the ghostly groans, the mournful wails, the chilling shrieks, the bitter weeping.
And the sounds of the swamp itself. The burping, bubbling, belching, bilious pits of steaming bile.
Ugh. It's an information overload, like we said. It mirrors their fear, but it also creates that disorientation for you, the reader. No escape.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting and pretty horrifying. The legend explains why these blind dead are there.
Right. They seem to search their arms stretched forth as if seeking to grip the living, to drag them down. Why?
To take their place deep within the boiling morass. And here's the twist.
Go on.
If they grab someone living, pull them into the pit, that person's last dying breath releases the lost soul that grabbed them, frees it from its curse.
Whoa. So it's like a horrifying trade. One life buys another's freedom from torment.
Exactly. A terrifying cycle of sacrifice.
Wow. That turns it into something almost like a soul economy. It echoes old folklore, doesn't it? Sacrificial lambs, scapegoats.
Yeah, but here it's involuntary. You're not just fighting for your life. You might become the key to someone else's awful release.
A horrific gift. Okay, so you think things can't get worse.
Right. You've got ghosts trying to swap places with you. And then a snake.
Ah, the viper.
A deadly viper.
Yeah.
A copperhead. The text specifies just slithers between their legs.
Yeah.
Suddenly the horror is very, very physical.
And their reaction? Instinctive. They kept their calm, stayed deathly still.
Which must have taken incredible nerve.
Unbelievable. And what's so effective here is that contrast, right? The ghostly out there horror versus this immediate primal physical danger. The snake.
It reminds you that even with ghosts around, the old fears still bite.
And it's not just a quick scare. The description of it going up Kevin's leg, slowly and methodically, coiling itself around his waist, sliding up his torso.
Until it wound itself around Kevin's trembling, sweat-soaked neck. A deadlier noose?
Oh,
My God.
And Kevin's just silently praying the Lord's Prayer, utter helplessness against this cold thing.
The tension is just unbearable. Then Kevin's silent scream opens his mouth.
Yeah, and the snake sees an opening, starts going in, gagging.
It's almost too much to read. But then the body reacts, right?
It does. It makes you think, how do our bodies react under that kind of extreme stress? Kevin starts choking, which triggers vomiting violently.
The sudden rush of half-digested kidney beans? It's graphic.
Incredibly graphic. But it doesn't just, clear his stomach. Miraculously, grotesquely, it spews forth the slithering death.
He vomits the snake out.
The body's revulsion literally saves his life. Unexpected, unpleasant, but effective.
Repulsive genius, as you said before. Okay, so Kevin's free from the snake. What now? He broke and ran. Just pure instinct. Bounding, leaping over the boiling pits, zigzagging.
Moving like a runaway slave, gazelle, and antelope, the description is vivid, swift as lightning.
And in doing so, he becomes a lure. The sound of the leaves crunching, the mud splashing, it acted to lure the blind dead away.
So his panic actually creates a diversion. It's that fight or flight, isn't it? Choosing active escape, however dangerous, over just giving up. He wants to die game.
Gives Perkins a moment's peace. But it doesn't last, does it?
Tragically, no. Because the exact same snake,
The slime-basted serpent Kevin just vomited.
now quickly slithered up his bended knee. Perkins' turn.
Oh, the horror. Facing the same terror again, he also starts praying, just like Kevin. The snake wants that warmth of human flesh.
Imagine the psychological pressure on Perkins. He saw what happened to Kevin. Now it's happening to him. The suspense is almost worse the second time around.
And then his body has an involuntary reaction. He gets nauseous, lightheaded, his bladder filled with fear.
And he relieved his bladder from its fear-built contents.
He wets himself.
Pretty much. And that warm stream of steaming urine hits the snake.
And the snake doesn't like it.
Apparently not. It gave it incentive to extricate itself from his ankle. Another deeply unpleasant but life-saving bodily function.
Okay. Wow. So 2 snake encounters, 2 grotesque escapes.
Yeah.
Perkins is free again. Now what?
Now his mind goes back to the legend, to that glimmer of hope.
The stone where waters flow.
Exactly. The legend said it was dead center of the swamp, its heart, its soul, and it offered protection.
A protective barrier. A moist shield. If you soaked yourself in the water there, the blind wanderers couldn't get you.
It's fascinating, isn't it? The folklore that introduced the terror now provides the only path to salvation.
It gives him a goal. Something concrete to aim for in all that chaos.
A focus, a reason to keep moving. It becomes everything.
So not caring about his urine-soaked pants legs.
Which really tells you how desperate he is.
He starts heading deeper into the swamp. Carefully, steadily. But the swamp itself is still dangerous.
Oh, yeah. He nearly steps on a water moccasin, almost sinks in the mire, saved only by grabbing a vine.
It's relentless. The place itself is trying to kill them, even without the ghost.
Constant physical threats, hyper-awareness needed just to take a step.
But just as he's maybe getting closer, focusing on that stone, he hears something. Kevin's footsteps, coming fast, in full flight. And the glowing dead are right behind him.
And the fog gets even thicker. Visibility drops to almost nothing, just 3 yards.
So whatever calm Perkins found, whatever focus he had, gone, shattered.
And this moment, it really forces a question, doesn't it? About courage, loyalty, connection under pressure.
Perkins calls out, but Kevin's just gone. Blind fright. He can't hear him.
So what does Perkins do? He doesn't just keep going for the stone. He strikes out in a course of interception, runs pell-mell towards Kevin.
Trying to stop him. To save him, so they can reach the stone together.
It seems so. It's an incredible act, risking his own slim chance for his friend, choosing connection over just saving himself.
But Kevin zigzagging, trying to dodge the ghost, is actually making things worse. It's confusing the spirits, spreading them out.
Making the whole swamp more dangerous.
Perkins keeps trying to reach him. He hears Kevin's breathless panting, knows he's fading, tiring, growing weaker.
And Perkins prays again. But this time, the text says, not for himself, but for the safety of his young companion.
That loyalty is profound, but it's also a burden. He's fighting the swamp, the ghosts, and his friends' panic and exhaustion.
It's staggering. Eventually, Kevin runs right towards Perkins. Perkins tackles him.
There's a struggle, then Kevin realizes it's Perkins. Mortal hands, not the dead.
They get up, try to keep moving towards the stone, but Kevin gasps out, I don't think I can make it.
Just heartbreaking honesty. He's broken.
And the interaction here is so raw, isn't it? Perkins refuses to leave him.
Grabs him, half drags him, says, "Fool, I ain't letting you go. You the only friend. You the only friend I got."
Such a powerful declaration, holding on to that bond even as everything is falling apart. So human, so tragic.
But the reality sets in. Kevin is dead weight. Perkins is getting exhausted. His own legs buckle with every rapid step.
He starts to wish he could unburden himself, and time just slows down. He's actually thinking about it. Deliberates on whether or not to release Kevin.
Leave him to the ghosts.
It's an impossible choice, isn't it? A moral abyss. His survival instinct is battling his loyalty, his humanity.
And the instinct wins. After what must have felt like forever, he whispers, "I'm sorry." Twice.
And then lets go.
Lets him go. The choice is made. That "I'm sorry," it just hangs there.
It tells you everything about the breaking point, doesn't it? In that ultimate moment, the raw animal drive to survive overrides everything else, even the deepest friendship.
It's brutal.
It's more than brutal. It's what some might call moral injury. Even if he survives, that choice, that sorry, will haunt him forever. It forces us to see that in the absolute extreme, maybe altruism is a luxury.
Wow. Okay. So we've walked through the swamp of the dead with them. Supernatural terror, snakes, exhaustion, and this final gut-wrenching test.
Yeah, it's where folklore, raw instinct, and the will to survive just collide viscerally.
This deep dive, it really shows the brutal truths about survival, doesn't it? It's not just physical.
Not at all. It's the mental toll, the emotional weight, those impossible choices. It lays bare the raw edges of human nature when everything is stripped away.
It shows how even the strongest bonds might break under that kind of pressure. The price of survival can be devastating.
Unimaginable, really.
Definitely gives us a lot to think about. Challenges our ideas about ourselves, about connection. So for you, our listener, here's something to mull over. Faced with that kind of doom, when your friend becomes a literal weight dragging you down, how would you decide?
What would you do? Choose your life, knowing you're abandoning your only friend, knowing that letting go might be the only sliver of hope for either of you.
And what would that choice cost you long after the swamp was behind you? Assuming you even made it out. Something to think about.